Rishi was just prepared to let them.
Last Christmas we kept you apart, but the very next day we parted away.
Die. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button to keep up with the COVID-19 series that I'm doing. Like the video, share the video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel like me grow. It's a bit like finding out that Winston Churchill was having Friday night coffees with Hitler. It's just a betrayal. It has been revealed as part of the COVID-19 inquiry, Rishi Sunak was just willing to let the people die. It has even been quoted that the team at the top of number 10 was like, you know what, they've had a good life. So what? The COVID-19 pandemic, a crisis that swept nations across the globe. If you weren't aware of it, weren't affected by it, or if you didn't even know it was happening, where have you been living all these years? There is currently a COVID-19 inquiry launched by the government themselves. An inquiry launched not by Rishi Sunak, the man without a mandate, but Boris Johnson, critiquing all the decisions that were made during the COVID pandemic. Now, it's fair to say that there is a trend where a public servant such as Boris Johnson relinquishes themselves to the authority, to the mandate of another group, such as a Partygate probe. Do you remember Partygate?
Recorded. His fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced.
You found nothing to show that I was warned in advance that events in number 10 were illegal.
And then they hide as much as they possibly can to basically say, look guys, we're transparent, we're accountable. Don't show them that one. Don't show them that. Have we got any more Sharpie left? Have we got any more? No. Okay. It's not really transparent, but at least in an election they can say they were transparent and were found to have done absolutely nothing wrong, except they were found to have done something wrong. They just covered it up and made it sound alright. And because of their spin doctor, they were able to spin it to something positive. But we do not forget anything during the COVID-19 pandemic because it affected all of us. Now, in the eye of the storm, there was a hospitality discount scheme launched by the man without a mandate, Rishi Sunak, called the Eat Out to Help Out scheme.
To get customers back into restaurants, cafes and pubs, I can announce today that for the month of August, we will give everyone in the country an Eat Out to Help Out discount.
It was a cracking scheme, to be fair, but let's see what they pick apart. What this video will explore is the fact that it actually did not escape the scrutiny of the scientific advisors that were seen as the gods, the policymakers during the COVID-19 period. Rishi Sunak has claimed that during the height of the pandemic, he did not know of any concerns regarding the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, that no scientific advisor, i.e. Patrick Vallance, told him that there were any concerns surrounding exacerbation of the disease that was to be associated with Rishi Sunak's Eat Out to Help Out scheme, because politicians were more concerned about people's health than they were the economy.
What is this, a joke?
Vallance contradicts Sunak and says he fucking did know. He absolutely did know that there were concerns. You'd have to be a moron to think that there weren't any concerns around transmission of the disease when you're telling everyone to go out and eat meals in a crowded restaurant. I'd be very surprised if Sunak had not learned about objections to his plan to help the hospitality industry. And the source of all this information comes from Patrick Vallance's own diary, a diary that he kept throughout the entire pandemic as a way to de-stress himself, as to decompress himself from the events of the day. What's in these diary entries is compelling and damning, and it all stems from a shambolic day, October the 25th, 2020. It was particularly when the country faced a prospect of a second lockdown.
Time to take action because there is no alternative. And from Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home. You may only leave home for specific reasons.
Now, Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson are damned as hell in this next segment. They say the diary entry highlights how Boris Johnson wanted to let the virus spread, while his most senior advisor Dominic Cummings suggested Sunak, then Chancellor, thought it was okay to just let people die. The extract read, Prime Minister meeting begins to argue for letting it all rip, saying yes, there will be more casualties, but so be it. They have had a good innings. Dominic Cummings says Rishi thinks just let people die and that's okay. This all feels like a complete lack of leadership. The current Prime Minister of the country was okay with letting your family members, my family members, die because they've had a good life, and you know what? Count yourself lucky. Asked about of course, Rishi Sunak hasn't commented straight away, and when they approached Downing Street to ask for commentary on this diary entry from Valence, Downing Street declined to say whether Sunak thought it'd be okay to just let people die during the pandemic, saying it would be for the Prime Minister to set out his position during evidence before the COVID inquiry. Basically, he needs a bit more time to think of the bullshit that he's going to spout to all of you, so he can try and get out of it and maybe do a little bit of electioneering before next year. In further revelations from the pandemic diaries, or Patrick Valance's diary, an entry in July 2020 provided evidence that Sunak also sought to push back against the scientists' advice. In one economics-based meeting, Sunak said, "It's all about handling the scientists, not handling the virus." What this inquiry does, it exposes what we've all thought all along. They didn't care about your family. They didn't care about your family when they launched the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. They didn't care about the transmission. The only reason that we went into all these lockdowns wasn't even going to go into lockdowns. Boris Johnson advocated the herd immunity approach. He wanted to be like Sweden. They never wanted any of this. Their only priority was to keep the economy alive. That's all it was. Rishi Sunak more than most wanted to keep the economy alive because as Chancellor, that was it. That's all he gave a shit about. And it's even more proven by the fact that by the whole Partygate probe, Rishi Sunak himself was fined for attending party events. Now don't forget, they weren't parties. They were just work gatherings. And it all comes down to the rank hypocrisy that, for example, we got from Matt Hancock, where it's one rule for them and one rule for other people. It's what they can spin and what they make believe, what they believe themselves and what they try and get the public to believe is what they should abide by, but they don't follow the rules themselves. You can guarantee that most civil servants broke the lockdown rules, as did we all, but they think they're a law unto themselves. Did Rishi Sunak basically just let people die? If he was the Prime Minister during that time, do you think we would have taken the same approach? Do you think he would just be like, no lockdowns, no, just Sweden? So in conclusion, as the COVID-19 inquiry continues to unravel a web of secret critical decisions that shed light on who was really leading us throughout that time. Boris Johnson with his head in his hands, looking like a hollow shell of a man. Rishi Sunak just throwing out any kind of economic scheme to keep the economy going because that was his only mantra. And whilst they faced challenges, it's okay to say, okay, they had difficult decisions and so did every other country, but it's quite clear, it's quite evident that the UK had perhaps one of the worst approaches to the COVID-19 pandemic from any other nation. The only thing that Boris Johnson could boast about was getting vaccines a little bit faster. Vaccines that were proven to not cut transmission, just make the disease itself less severe.
Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus?
No, we had to really move at the speed of science.
Now let's be clear, we are still awaiting Rishi Sunak's official testimony to the inquiry. But from what it looks like right now, from Sir Patrick Valance's diary, is that Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, just wanted to let the virus rip, wanted to let your family members die, believed they had already had good innings, they already had a good life, so it didn't matter as much. Thank you very much. See you next time. Make love, not video. Then hit the subscribe button or watch some more videos. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel grow. Thank you very much.